So this system, can it only just be used for when you want to be spontaneous and you want to sort of wing it?
No, you can prepare and plan things. So if I go into the slide mapping wizard here and start a presentation, this is a presentation which I might have prepared in PowerPoint, or it's a piece of software that I know I'm going to use today, and I know I'm going to be asking you questions as part of that activity that I'm going to be doing, and I've just pre-prepared it inside Cens Us here. So for instance, if I went to this PowerPoint, which is all about the environment, which I know I'm going to use today, so I've pre-prepared that. And again, I know I'm going to use it with a class, so I've already put my class into the system as a CSV file, as an Excel. So I'm going to use it with a group, so I'm going to click Use Group, and I'm going to click this other box here that says Enable Slide Transition, which means that Cens Us is going to know when the PowerPoint moves forward, and it'll move both together at the same time, rather than me having to move Cens Us and PowerPoint separately. It does it both together, which you'll see as we go through. So once I've ticked that box as well, and then I click Finish, because I've pre-prepared this and I know what's going to happen, it says, right, I know what you want to do here, so I know that I've got to go off and find that PowerPoint presentation and open it up for you, which is what's doing now. So it says, that's what you've told me to go and find. And then it says, you can't use that for anything else because you're using with this at the moment. And that's fine, that's fine. And then you can see it's put Cens Us over the top. So there is my question, true or false. Climate change is one of the most important issues facing the world today. And if I say, right, we're going to start responding to that question, I can move that toolbar around, of course, so if I want to, I can have it sat down at the bottom there. And then I'm going to, again, ask my audience for a response. Now, you can see at the bottom this time, it's actually got the handset numbers because I chose a class, so it's expecting this number of people to respond to this particular question. So I can say at this point, right, okay, can you say whether you think climate change is one of the most important issues facing the world today? And answer true or false. So we've got some responses there from the handsets that are currently active, as you can see. And once again, using the teacher handset or using the toolbar on here, if I was on my interactive whiteboard, I can bring up a graph of the results and the responses that you've given me back. 4 people all thought yes. But the clever bit now, look, is when I press forward on here, what now happens is it moves the PowerPoint forward and it moves the Cens Us forward.
Ah, so it's taking both
Yep.
the questions and the whole thing. So like you say, it's doing it all for you in one go.
Yeah, that's right. So it's now showing me we're on question 2 within the Cens Us and we're on slide 2 within the PowerPoint. So again, this time we've got a multiple choice sort of response. So again, I'm going to say, right, everybody respond to the question. So as people respond, the numbers change colour at the bottom. And I can bring up the graph when everybody's finished responding, see what sort of responses we've got. So let's have a quick look at that. There's my graph.
Ah, now that's interesting. The invalid, what does that mean?
That means that somebody has pressed, because you can see what it's expecting is an A, B or a C response. Somebody must have pressed something outside of that range, or they might have pressed true or false or something that it doesn't recognise. So it says, well, it's not what I'm expecting. It's not A, B or C, so I'll just throw it into a category and call it invalid.
Would you be able to find out which handset that came from?
If I scroll through here, I can see by looking at this chart here, you can see this person here has pressed true. So yes, I can, because that will show me that information. I can see what response everybody has given me there. So I'll just come back out of there, and then when I move forward again, so I say let's have a look at the next slide in the sequence. Again, it moves the PowerPoint and it moves the Cens Us, so now we're on question 3. So you can see I've pre-prepared this by mapping the information to Cens Us and telling it that as I move through the PowerPoint, this is what I'm going to be using.
So that really does make preparing classes, I should imagine, a heck of a lot easier because it's doing 2 things at once.
Well, exactly. Let me show you another example of that as well. So if I just come out of this for a moment and close that, and we'll close that presentation there, and it always prompts me at the end as well, because it's obviously just collected some data. It says, do you want to send this data to an Excel file, because do you want to keep this data? So I can either say yes or no at this point, and it'll send that information off if that's important. I'll say no at this point, we don't want to hold that for the moment. I'm going to go into another presentation here. Let's imagine I'm in a maths class now, and I'm going to be teaching about angles in a triangle. That's the teaching objective of my lesson today. So here is a piece of software that teaches about that, but has some class activities involved in that piece of software. So I'm going to point it at that now, okay, and I'm going to use it with the same group, and I'm going to go finish. So this time it says, okay, you're sending me off to this piece of software, and so I'm now going to use this, and we're going into here, and I'm going to teach you about angles in a triangle. So I'm going to go into a triangle here, and obviously the teaching point I'm going to be making here is that the angles must add up to 180. So I can use this, and I can change this triangle, pull this around, different shape, and I can reveal from here what size those angles are, and you're going to tell me what the missing one is from there. So that one's 78, and that one might be 65, so what is the third angle? And we can reveal that on here as well by doing the same thing. But the important point here is that what we can then do is we can go into this option of show 6. So here are 6 examples that we would be doing together. Now I want to test out at this point whether you've understood this idea of adding up to 180 within the triangle. So in each of these examples, as you can see, there's a question mark where the angle size is missing. So if I float on Cens Us and I say, right, I'm going to start responding. Now I've set up Cens Us, and it knows that the next 6 questions are going to be a numeric response. So at this point I could say to my class, right, in this first example that you can see up here, you've got an angle of 62, you've got an angle of 63. What is this third angle going to be? So everybody picks up their handsets and they do a bit of mental calculation and they work out what they think it is and what the missing angle might be. And they put the size of that angle into their handset and they press send. Okay. And when we've got a few responses back, hopefully the whole class will have responded in some way. I as a teacher am now wanting to know, are we anywhere near this, or are we still way off mark with this? So when I press the graph button on the teacher handset, here are all the range of responses I've been given: 42, 45, 55, 65, 70. So I'm thinking as a teacher, I don't think they've quite understood this yet. Either their mental math skills aren't up to much, or they've really not understood what I'm on about here, because I've got a whole range of answers and none of them are correct. So obviously I need to do something about this. So we might, on the next one, spend a bit more time going through how we work that out and then do the activity again. But it's, all the time it's involving my students in what I'm actually doing. They can't just sit there and not be involved.
No, and like you say, you can monitor who is always interacting.
That's
so,
right, yes.
You know, if somebody's sat there going, I don't understand, if I just ignore it, he'll carry on without me.
Yeah.
You won't, because you monitor exactly who is responding on these.
Yes, I can see from the toolbar who has and who hasn't responded. So at this one, you can see actually handset 3 and handset 7 never gave me a response. So I'm thinking, well, they're either very slow or they just haven't got a clue.
Yes.
You know, they're not even making a guess at what the answer might be. So it's giving me lots of information as a teacher as to how I need to develop this lesson and what I need to do next at this point, as well as involving my students all the time in what's going on.